Right. You only know something when you can teach it. That's the bottom line. So this lesson plan that we're putting together starts with one student being asked to explain the lyrics of one song.
Exactly. Maybe their favorite song.
And then we introduce a second song to get the comparison.
Exactly. Mostly a contrasting song, for example, with different points of view, or maybe a different answer to the same problem stated in the song. And then from then on, what you got is you got a student, the activity by itself is glorious, but the next thing is that you may be giving a student something, a tool that he has never thought of. You might be giving the student a contrasting tool, and he might find himself writing beautiful contrasting essays on an easy way that he never thought he could.
Right.
Because when you tell a student to write a contrasting essay from the characteristics of how Edgar Allan Poe, in his telltale story, talks about something, and then Shakespeare talks about the same thing in another terms, brother, you're speaking German to the guy. You are presupposing that the student knows poet, that he has read, that he can read and understand poet. Come on, that's fucking too much. I mean, it's hard for me to understand Poe, let alone a student.
So we need to find, I think, starting with the songs, we can then slowly introduce some literature that is close to what the song is.
And that is, some literature which is today's literature. Let's see there are many exciting writers, mostly in New York, who write wonderful short stories, very short stories, really short stories, and they never take a page longer. And you can have a student. You see, when you give a student a book to read it. I mean, it has to be very interesting for me to read it. And I'm a reader. You see, when you give them a page to read, it's easy for them because they don't see time consuming. Remember that these students have a problem with their concentration and their focus. Because they are people from the high-tech era. They are used to instant gratification. They play a game that in a minute they can have something back to them. So you got to give them very small pieces of literature. And there are plenty of those out there, believe me.
That's a very good point. So we now have a nice lesson plan where we ask the student to talk about. They don't have to write about it initially. They're just talking.
Just talk about it. At the beginning, talk about it. You have to go step by step, The skills have to be set like that. When you are a boy, you start talking before you ever know that there is writing. And then when you're used to talking, then you start to read a little bit. And when you read a little bit, then you write a little bit. And then you learn to listen. So, I mean, we got to go with the students the same way we go in our normal lives, It's a very, anthropological approach to education.
That's great. Well, I wish you a very safe drive, and I look forward to your visit next week.